Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking About Adaptability. Today we're going to Kuala Lumpur to Seelan, Karthi. Sounds great. Let's go. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the program. Let's talk about adaptability. Today's guest is Mr. Seelan. Welcome. And before I introduce you, I always ask my guest the first question: what is the first thing that comes to mind if I say adaptability?
It's now. We need to adapt right now, not yesterday, now.
That is a great answer. Let's talk. So, welcome, Mr. Seelan, to our show. Talk about adaptability. You were pretty sure by saying it's now. I mean, is it? Are we almost too late?
Are we almost too late? Well, it's never too late, but I think that the answer is it has been now. If we are aware that we need to adapt, to embrace the changes that has happened, especially the last 2 years with the whole COVID and vaccination program is happening globally, and we are not doing anything about it, Tom, then it is going to be too late to do anything in the next couple of, as you go into 2022. So, which is why I say it's not yesterday, it's not tomorrow, it's now. We need to start thinking of how we can adapt our businesses to embrace the changes of a very volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous, and dispersed business world that we operate in.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit about you. You are from Kuala Lumpur.
Yes.
I've looked to your LinkedIn, and there's a lot of, you've got 19 years of experience in a lot of different angles. And it says that you are a trainer, coach, consultant, also in disruptive innovation, which I thought that was interesting because my last keynote was about personal disruption. But you're also a specialist in design thinking. Can you tell a little bit for our viewers, what is design thinking?
Design thinking is a human-centric approach where you understand your persona's pain, problems, and challenges from their point of view, from your customer's point of view, from the user's point of view, from human's point of view. Hence, it's called human centricity. It's not becoming product-centric. It's about being human-centric. And once you understand and observe and engage with your customers and users from their point of view, from their context of life, wherever they may be, and then you come up with a creative idea using the 5 steps of design thinking. Some can even go 4 steps, but the steps are basically the 5 pillars, which is understanding your persona, finding out the core problems, proposing a particular hypothesis, prototyping it, and pivot and persevering it, and iterating to bring value to your customers. That is design thinking.
That sounds great. And is it the 5 steps you created them, or is it a fixed sort of program around the world?
Yeah, the 5 steps, if you notice, you just go to Google right now, you can see the 5 steps. It goes with empathy, goes with defining the problem, and it goes with ideation, prototyping, and testing. So what I've done is for my trainings and coachings and consulting programs, I kept it the 5 pillars of design thinking. I call it the 5 principles of design thinking. Hence, it starts with the persona, which is the P, persona's problem, which is the next second P, proposing a particular hypothesis, which is the third P, and prototyping that hypothesis into a low fidelity prototype, which can eventually even be a high fidelity if you have some different tools to using it. And finally is to pivot or persevere. So we want to persevere, but we always go into this pivot thing as well, which is definitely part of its adaptability, right? To adapt to either persevere or pivot into what you really need to deliver value proposition to your customers.
Yes. So in which step is adaptability most important, do you think? I guess in the beginning or not?
If you look at from design thinking's perspective, and when I do projects for companies, at this moment I'm running 21 projects. I think adaptability is not a fixed part of any process.
No, it's right.
Adaptability is in every part of the process. Hence, design thinking is a non-linear approach, and it's not a tool, Tom. It's not a
No,
tool. With due respect to, it's
it's
not a tool. It's a mindset change.
it is.
Exactly. It's a change of mindset. In fact, I had a talk today early morning with an American company, and I told them that they said, Seelan, which is the first thing you do? Do you adapt or do you be agile? So I said, very interesting question. But from my point of view, you will not want to adapt to anything if you are not having the right mindset to be agile, to even break that old thoughts or process to say, I want to adapt. So I said, be agile to think and be flexible that we need to adapt to the changes and do it right now.
And you did a very nice. Thank you very much. That's very very clear. And you've been around in business for almost more than 20 years. Do you think the adaptability is now more important? Because you said at the beginning we have to do it now. Did you set the same 10 years ago? I mean, is it changing so fast?
Yes, back then, if the only change 10 years ago is adaptability was very slow. I mean, we don't call it. We say we need to adapt, but people do not know how do we do it. Right? Is there a
Yeah.
tool to it? Is there a framework to adaptability? Harvard Business Review has many white journal papers as well, and they say one of the ways you be agile is stop looking at frameworks because there's so many out there in the market. Right? There's so many research from different universities, different corporations. Same with adaptability, there's no rocket science to it. It just basically means be aware that what happened in 10 years, adaptability was a bit slow. But today we
Yeah.
need to do it just faster because people go to market fast. If we do not adapt, our customers will learn to adapt and say no to your value proposition. And because they can choose what value proposition they want from various suppliers from around the world. So we need to adapt very fast to serve the customer's problems. If not, they will adapt and they'll say, thank you very much, Tom. I don't want to do business with you.
Yeah. There's also a thing that a lot of people, well, they get coached how to be adaptable, how to be, more flexible, agile, give it a name these days. But one of the most interesting thing, if you look to when you have an assessment on adaptability, is the aspect unlearn. Have you heard of that aspect? So when we've learned a lot of things, but maybe what we've learned 10 or 15 years ago is not appropriate right now. So have you heard about the concept unlearn or how to deal with that?
Yeah, I do get it a lot in my training sessions. There's one of my participants last week said that no, a lot of things yet in today's world, in today's business world, we do not know a lot of things. We need to unlearn to learn. In fact, today with another program for an electronic company in the afternoon, we spoke about coming with an empty cup to learn new things. Do not
Okay.
come with a cup full or even half full. We need to unlearn to learn new things.
Yeah.
So that's the mindset change, Tom. That in fact, the photo that I shot was a chameleon adapting in and camouflaging itself on a bark of a tree, and you can't
Yeah.
even see that chameleon there. That is being adaptable to any circumstances. And I use the chameleon as how a chameleon can adapt itself to any situations. And that was the talk I did today for one
Okay.
of my clients early morning, right? And we spoke about agile and adaptability, and that was a photo they could see. I get what you're trying to say. We need to change our mindset, we need to adapt. And they said, we need to make the changes, not pointing fingers on anyone, but we as a fellow human being, we need to make the change to serve our customers in the new era of how we are. Tom, I always ask this question to my clients and said, did we all have a greater strategy in 2019 as we entered into 2020? And
Yeah.
what happened to all those strategies, right? It just got disrupted.
But that is also a thing. Like, I mean, when you have a new strategy, when you now go to a company and you say, "Well, we are going to do it differently." I mean, one of the most common things you hear is, "Ah, there we go again." Like because there was also a strategy in 2017 and 14 and 2009 and in 2005 we're going to do it the completely different way. So that also has got to do with unlearn, of course. So I mean, we can say how important this is, but how do you stay motivated, or how can you motivate your client? I mean, is there a special tip you can share with us?
Sure. I mean, great question, Tom. This is how I say to my clients. I mean, they challenge me with various different questions. They come from different backgrounds, different. They are subject matter experts. Some of them are C-suites, senior managers, and they are in the field for many years. And hear me going design thinking, innovation, adaptability, and they're like, "How do you say this, Seelan?" So this is the only thing I tell them with regards to your question is one of the things that we need to do right now is I tell them if we do not adapt and change with whatever strategies, it's great to have a strategy, Tom. It's a great to have strategy.
Yeah.
Our strategies change. You know why? Because you have a strategy not in terms of the revenue that you want to achieve. The revenue can only come in if a customer sees a value proposition to your value proposition. Once they share their wallet with you, and now you have a customer become a user becoming a customer. But the
Yeah.
thing is this, things happen so fast these days that every single second a customer is changing their desires and expectation.
Yeah.
How would a strategy that you have built with blood and sweat strategy serve the customers if they said, look, we don't want this strategy because it doesn't bring value proposition to me. Now,
But
this is where I suggest. Yeah.
no, no. You were asking the question. How are we going to do that? So I just wanted to ask you, how are we going to do that?
Yes, so that is the reason why when I go there and I said, great question. When I tell them this, you go like, yeah, so how do you need to do that, Seelan? I said, this is where we need to start to think about coming up with new ideas so fast. A strategy is good, but a strategy should be an adaptable strategy, a versatile
Okay.
strategy, a vision that changes to suits the customer's needs. Build, don't plan too much. Have an idea, build a prototype, go and experiment that idea with the customer and see whether they like it. And that could be your new business model for you. And that could be a new strategy for you. And that strategy will need to be a new change when things.
Okay, yeah, but on the other hand, I mean, in the beginning we said it. The most important thing is mindset. So I mean, you can learn them a strategy. You can have a brilliant meeting, 400 people, employees in the room, and you have a PowerPoint presentation. We are going this way, but how are you going to manage that everybody has the right mindset to be adaptable, to be coping with that change? Have you got your own training for that, or can you share an insight?
So what I do in my trainings as a facilitator, it's one of the most difficult things, as you
Yeah,
know, and it's a global thing. Knowledge and skills can be trained, can be coached, but a mindset change, how do you change people's way of thinking if the character is such? But it's more mindset. And here's what I do in my facilitation, Storm. I ask them to select case studies. I actually provide them some questions. They select case studies. And from the case studies, not the case studies I give them, from the case study, I stir them to a particular learning journey. And then from that journey that they share with me on some great innovative ideas, great companies that have, or the top companies in the world that have come up with how they've been agile and adaptable and change, how the employees change, like employees thinking like entrepreneurs in an organization. I said, if entrepreneurs can do that, and why are we employees not doing it? So we start
yeah,
learning about the mindset of an entrepreneur from that case study that they identified, and they talk about it. And while facilitating the programs, we start to learn new things from there. Said, now if they can do it, you can do it. If he
yeah.
can do it, you can do it. I instill that yes, I can do it too. I'm an entrepreneur too in my organization. It's a leader that begins that I can do it, right? So that is how we do it.
And I think it's a very important point what you just said. I mean, it's leading by example. So I think the management and the CEOs, they have to show as first to be adaptable. I mean, and most of the time they are 20, 30 years in the company. So for them, it's the hardest job to do because they're all those youngsters. They're all over the place. But when you are a CEO for 10 or 15 or 20 years, you have to show them even to be more adaptable than they are. So that is a big challenge, or not?
It is a very big challenge. I've also done my programs to up to 61 companies and about 13 universities right now. The last 3.5 years, my trainings, coachings, and consultation. I think that's the one thing, Tom, absolutely right. They say Sealant is easy for you to say. It is
Mm-hmm.
easy for us to tell us to
Yeah.
change our mindset, but it's a top-down approach. So he said, how do we do this? So some of the things that we should do is to build a framework. Yes, when we have run innovation for a company before, we got the group CEO to come into the program as well,
Yeah.
right? So that's the way it is. So now when I run programs, I get the managing director of the company to showcase a 1 minute video to say, guys, we need to change. We need to be agile. So this is the MD talking. We have got Seelan here with us today to take us through a project journey, to do entire design thinking, lean business, agile project management, and implement an idea is 8 months. So here's where the top-down approach is happening, Tom.
Yeah.
The leader of the company, the MD, is showcasing a video to say, hey guys, we've got you, go in, enjoy yourself, come, let's do something different for our customers. And that's the
Okay.
same thing I'm doing for another client right now. We've got
Yeah.
all the C-suites in, and the C-suites are in the program together with the senior managers and C-1, C-2. They're learning the program together. And as you say, it's a top-down approach. And after this, next year we can cascade to the C-3, C-4,
Sure.
and we can keep
Yeah.
going on. It becomes a culture in the whole organization.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Um, Wait a minute. I think this is my studio manager. She always comes up with a question that. Yes.
자세히
Yes. Green
Green
bell. Okay. I will have, yeah, yeah, thank you, thank you. Sorry for that. There is something, oh, I mean, I have to show you on your LinkedIn, it says that you have a green belt. And some of our viewers are just curious. Is that something to do with judo or is that a certificate in business?
That's nice. Thank you. Yeah, it's a certificate in business.
Oh,
It's Six Sigma.
okay.
Yeah, it's Six Sigma. Yeah, so it's a project that I did back in 2006 or seven
All
for
right.
an American company. It's a Fortune 50 company, and I used a Six Sigma methodology to improve the customer satisfaction score
Okay.
for the NPS score, Net Promoter Score in the company. And so yeah, that's where we did it. The score was about 80%, and using Six Sigma, it went up to about 84 to 85% in just 3 months after we
Wow.
execute the plan. Yeah,
Huh.
so customer satisfaction NPS is a big score because a one unit of increment depicts a particular revenue for the organization.
Okay. So, what do you think is the biggest challenge we are facing right now? When we also look at the soft skill of adaptability, because we all know that we have to be adaptable. But what do you think if we look at it? What is the biggest challenge we have right now?
Tom, I think it's another great question. I think it's I think 80% of the global organizations are trying and struggling to innovate and adapt to the whole change that has happened in this pandemic. We're all talking about digital transformation, digital
Yeah.
customer experience. We're talking about AI, machine learning, big data, quantum computing, big words. All these technologies are all great, but I think the greatest challenge right now is for the organization to really build a framework in innovation process to be, rather than a product centric company, to be a human centric company into an innovative centric company, because adaptability and agile is part of innovation. We need to adapt. And the cliche word, if his company isn't innovating, if the company isn't failing, the company isn't innovating. And
Yeah.
adaptability is one part of it, right? And that is where we need to stir on. And that's the timing is right now for organizations to do. So the biggest challenge is we need a framework from a top-down approach for companies, whether it's small, medium businesses to large corporate accounts, to have a very clear direction. What is my vision of innovation, and how am I going to do that and communicate that to my people, and build the entire process to have a culture of innovation, a culture of change, so that people can follow the new process to go to market fast, to serve their customers, and finally to give them all the tools they need to
Yeah.
actually run the show. So it's actually we need a clear vision and strategy, get our people on track with whatever skills, knowledge, mindset change they need, whether it's design thinking, adaptability, agile, and lean.
Yeah.
Build a very clear process for that to it becomes the bible of the organization, right, to follow that process. And it has to
Yeah.
be an adaptable process as well. It needs to change and time changes, and give them right tools There's no such thing as right tool. Sorry, there's no right. We give
No,
them
of
the
course.
tools in that. There's no right, and
Okay.
to be adaptable.
Okay. Now, just let's close off because then we stick in the half hour. I've been because I am a global speaker, but for the last 26 years I've also been a stand-up comedian. So for me, joy or having fun is a crucial aspect in my work. It's my product. But I also think that when you learn something or when you have to stay motivated, that having joy is a very important aspect. How do you see that?
Oh yes, I rate this a lot in companies, in my trainings and coaching programs as well. Also, the C-suites that joy and happiness is very important. So when I always start my programs, Tom, the first thing I ask them is, who is here? Who's here in this program to learn and have fun?
Okay.
And today I did that. So they said, everybody raises their hand and said, why is fun so important in learning? Because they say, and you know what they say? They said it helps us stay motivated to keep learning and learning. Because if boring, we shut down. I mean, that's the cliche word you learn, you hear
Absolutely.
around the world, Tom. But it's about our hormone reaction, right? It's about when the right hormones are sparked, when it's always fun, we go like, yay, I'm happy and I want to learn more. So I put the same analogy as children, we want fun. As adults, we want to learn with fun as well. And I asked them, how
Yes.
many of you are kids once? And they said, all of us were children once. I said, and you're all children today. Let's be curious like kids to keep learning, guys. And they said, let's keep it fun. And they go,
That's an important thing. We talked about unlearn, and a lot of people who went from school to business, they sort of unlearned having fun. We have to be serious right now. We have to stick to the plan, to the program. But well, you can talk about perseverance, about grit, about emotional health. If you don't have fun, you will not survive. Well, that's a great conclusion at the end of this program. So also at the end of the program, we have a strange closing up because is it okay to ask you a personal question?
oh, yeah, you can.
Very good, very good. Well, I've got 8 envelopes here. I've got the wheel of questions here. I just ask you, do you want to pick, because I've 8 envelopes. Number 1 is the easy question, and number 8 is a difficult question. So there are 2 ways. Or you can just choose one, and then you may answer it, or we ask to the wheel of questions to make the decision. So what is going to be? The
Let's
wheel or
let's
you?
go. Let's be adaptable. Let's see what the wheel says.
The wheel. Oh, I like that because I totally programmed it. There we go. The wheel. Which question is it going to be? And it is question number. Oh! All right. It was almost 8. I mean, I cannot change this or something. This is a real program. Well, you're lucky. Well, we have to close off with question number 1, and it's the most easy question. What is your favorite food?
That's interesting. Indian food.
All right. Well, Mr. Seelan and Karthi, thank you very much for your insight. Thank you very much for joining this show, Talk About Adaptability. And please look Mr. Seelan up on his LinkedIn profile. This is his LinkedIn profile. When you see this, then you're sure you have the right man. So thank you very much, and see you next time on Talk About Adaptability.
Thank you, Tom.
Bye. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.